Hello, my name is Marlon Hall, and I am an anthropologist. I'm an interdisciplinary artist. I'm a father, I'm a filmmaker, and I am a Fulbright specialist. And most recently, I've been given the gift, the honor of being a CAMHLAB artist in residence. And my residency was around something called cultural amnesia therapy. And today, I'm going to give you a practice, a ritual, and a deep value that you can use in the midst of the pandemic, during the holidays, with family members or with yourself, to return you to the culture or to the core of who you are as a person or who y'all are as a people. Culture is the sum total of the practices, the values, and the rituals that make up a people. And it's through that trilogy, that threefold chord, that threefold harmony that comes together to make a people that we discover wholeness. However, sometimes a culture, a people, or a person can experience the kind of trauma that can literally dismember you from the memory of your culture. It's this amnesia that happens in the midst of a traumatic moment. We are experiencing the kind of trauma through the pandemic that we've never experienced in our lifetime. And so I believe that my work as an artist, as an anthropologist, is to cultivate practices, rituals, and values that we can use in this time to return us, to remember us back to who we are, mind, body, and spirit, because the trauma of this moment can easily dismember the integration of those three things, that threefold harmony. And one of the ways that I do that in my practice as an artist is with this table. This table was made from reclaimed wood from my big mama's house in Houma, Louisiana. And I made it with two artist friends of mine, Anthony Super and Brian Ellison. And at this table, I invite 16 cognitively and culturally diverse people at a time to come to this table to remember their humanity. The only rule is that you can't talk about what you do for a living, because what you do does not necessarily integrate you into who you are. You can only talk about who you are and why. And so this is a practice that I engage in. And why this table as an artist, as an anthropologist? Why the meal? Because the meal's the oldest institution. Before there was any civil government, before there were any ISDs, before there were even religious institutions, right? There was the meal. The meal was the institution where we learned the intuition to be human, where we learned all of the practices, the values, and the essence of what it means to be who we are. We learned it at this first institution. So I invite people to the first institution to move through traumatic moments in their lives so that they can move into the next intuition or imagination for who they are as a person or for who they are as a people. And so this 16-person salon dinner that is in many ways mirrored after the Medici or the Medici family salon dinner parties involves cognitively diverse people, because the Medici family in Italy sat artists next to doctors and doctors next to lawyers and lawyers next to teachers, and the cross-pollination or the ecology of all these different kinds of people grew the Italian Renaissance. And I want to make Renaissance in the city, in the world, and particularly like in Houston through my residency. And I'm going to give you a practice, a ritual, and a value that you can use even in the midst of the pandemic as a family or as a person to integrate the dismembered parts in mind, body, and spirit of who we are as a culture back to us through the practice of the meal. So the practice is the meal. The ritual is something I call the forward story. And the forward story is something I developed as a riff off of Ernest Hemingway's 6-word story. He had a writer's block. He did not know what was next for his writing, a person who wrote novels, so he returned to what was first for his writing, like these core elements, 6 words, and those 6 words were for sale, baby shoes, never worn. He died believing that those 6 words were the greatest contribution that he would make to the literary world. Why? Because they turned the floodlight of his work into a laser beam of an assignment, of a ritual that he did to return to the why he wrote. And so I invite people at this table to use a ritual that I developed called the 4-word story. And the 4-word story involves 4 words: a verb, a noun, a preposition, a noun. A verb, a noun, a preposition, a noun. An example of a 4-word story is my own. Unearth beauty from brokenness. When I personally, in my personal culture or in our collective culture, experience the kind of trauma that can knock the memory of my humanity right out of me, it's that 4-word story that I tell myself, to myself, about myself, to remember the dismembered parts of who I am. And that 4-word story is unearth beauty from brokenness. Verb, noun, preposition, noun. Unearth beauty from brokenness. So take some time right now, pull out a piece of paper, write down a verb, a noun, a preposition, or a noun that you think is the heart of your why, your personal culture or the culture of your family or the people around you. Verb, noun, preposition, noun. You have your 4-word story. The practice is the meal, that ancient institution. The ritual is the 4-word story. The value is the power of the story to lead us into what's next by remembering what was first of us. The story has the unique capacity, when we tell better stories to ourselves about ourselves, the story has the unique capacity to integrate us whole, to bring the mind to the body and the body to the soul through powerful, beautiful, and bountiful self-storytelling. So we tell the worst stories to ourselves about ourselves when we are in the midst of a traumatic moment as a culture. Well, the value of the ritual that comes from the practice of the dinner table through the 4-word story, the value of that ritual is the value that makes us human. The capacity to use story as a means to the end, to tell better stories to us, about us, in such a bountiful way that it brings us to the core of who we are. So you use this institution or practice of a meal. That's my gift to you. You use the 4-word story as a way to tell better stories to yourself, about yourself, or to your people, about your people. And lastly, you use the value of storytelling as the means to the end of crafting your way through the trauma into the triumph of what's next, the evolution of who you are as a person or who we are as a people. Now, I've given you a gift. Now it's time for you to give back. My name is Marlon. It's been a pleasure to be an artist in residence through CAMHLAB, through the work that they are doing. I'm so grateful to have had that opportunity, and I'm so grateful that you listened. Peace.